Good morning and welcome back to When God Speaks. I'm Enrique, Madelaine, my co host here, and we're so glad you are joining us today. I mentioned last week that this is a venture that we're going down because we just saw God come up in all of our conversations when we were talking about leadership. And so I want to welcome you. We have a couple of things for you this day, but I just want to give Madelaine a chance to greet you.
Welcome, everybody. And Enrique, I'm so glad that we're back. I had such a good response on private messages about when God speaks. So it obviously touched hearts and, gave people some hope or direct them back to where there is hope. So I'm so glad that we actually listened to our intuition and that we started this because I believe this is where we need to be. And I also see it going much bigger and wider from here on. So welcome. I'm also glad you're here. So a warm welcome to everybody.
Great. Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that you've seen responses to affirm that what we were thinking was in line with God, and the road that we should be traveling on. I also received some great responses, and I thank you all for actually reaching out and sharing those with us. They're not only motivating but also inspiring. So thank you. Now, we left off last week, and I was going to share what I consider my ritual in the mornings that allows me to align, allows me to step back and assess, allows me to be able to be as fruitful as I can within the 24 hours that I'm giving per day. And so I'm going to step you through some of those things and won't get into too much detail. If you'd like to know more detail, hey, just send us a comment and we'll address that. Or you can DM me on LinkedIn and we can do that as well. So I am a firm believer that humility is one of the greatest attributes a leader can have. Humility allows you to step back from yourself and think of yourself a little less. Now let me make this very clear. It's not thinking of yourself uh, or less of yourself. That's not what that is. If you notice the words, it's thinking of yourself a little less, which means that you're giving an opportunity for someone else to reside in the place before you. That gives you an opportunity to focus on them, to come up with a way to empathize with someone versus sympathize. We could because we already know there's a lot of apathy, right? So to instead of sympathizing, empathizing, and as a leader, humility will allow you to do that. It would also give you an opportunity to highlight somebody else instead of you. So I start my day very quickly. I'm gonna run through this. I'm face down on the floor. Why is that? I believe that's about the lowest place you can go. You can't go below the floor one day, but not today. And so I start my day face down on the floor in gratitude to God. Number one, for answering my prayer from the evening before, because I pray with my family every night, and we pray together before we all go to bed. And that allows us to set in motion some things. First, Lord, protect us while we sleep, because we know there's some things that you cannot control once you go to bed. So protect us. And so I thank him for answering my prayer of protection because I obviously made it. I also thank him for the opportunity to see the light of day. Now, for common people, they don't have any problems physically with their eyes. I do. I have partial retinal detachment on both eyes due to an injury that I suffered in service. And the fact that I can see day to day is a blessing. Uh, I suffer from a condition that at any moment I can lose either one or both vision from both eyes. So when I open my eyes and I can see daylight, it's a brand new day. It's a great day, and so I thank him for that. And so I start with humility. Then I move into an actual, what I consider consecration. I consecrate and dedicate my life that day to his service. And so I do that through anointing oil. I pray over my head where my mind is, because I need my mind to be thinking things like him. I cannot think like every other human on this earth and expect anything godly to happen. So I pray over my mind that I think like him. And I pray over my eyes. First, for the condition that I just explained that I have, um, but to see spiritually, to see beyond what my eyes can see.
Mm.
And I also want to know that what I'm looking at is godly. So this is a very critical piece that a lot of people kind of brush over during the day. I don't want to be looking at things that are going to poison my spirit. And so that is, and as a male, I'm telling you right now, that is a very critical prayer, because through it, there are a lot of pitfalls. I don't want my eyes to lay up on a woman that is not my wife. So I have trained myself that if there's a female figure in front of me, I look somewhere else. And I do that to honor my wife. I do that to honor God, but I do it to honor my wife. And so I pray for my eyes. I pray over my ears. Why? Because there's some conversations I don't need to be in. And so that also feeds my spirit. And so I pray over my ears that I first am attentive to him. That when he speaks, as we have the show, God, when God speaks, that when he speaks, I can say, here am I. That I can say, what is it? And that when other things come in my ears, I block them out, because there's some things that just will not be fruitful for me to listen to. And so I pray over my mouth. And for my mouth is this, that I speak what he wants me to speak, that I give life through my mouth, that I encourage, edify, and build up. So I want to make sure that I don't speak anything that's out of line with the spirit in me, because this body, it'll fight, right? So I pray over my mouth, I pray over my heart. Here is the wellspring of life. Whatever's in here comes out of everywhere else. So I pray over my heart that he writes his name on my heart, that I store his words in my heart, that my meditation and my words all are in line with him. I pray over my hands and my feet. Why? Because my feet take me places, and I want those places to be right. I don't want to be quick to rush to evil. I want to be quick to rush to good. And that my feet take me where his word leads me, because his word is a lamp unto my feet. My hands, this is where all the work happens. I want my hands to be consistently working on what he wants me to do. I don't want to use my hands for any ill gain. I don't want to use my hands for anything other than ensuring that my life is in line with him, for the prosperity of my family, and for the prosperity of my soul. So it was a little long, but that's my ritual, and I just wanted to share that with you, because sometimes we live this life haphazardly. We don't live it intentionally, and when you don't live life intentionally, you will succumb to whatever comes your way. You're like chaff in the wind. And so I just wanted to share that with you, and I hope that's a benefit to you. I don't aim it for you to imitate. I just aim it for you to understand that if you live your life intentionally, intentional things will happen in your life.
So true. And gratitude is such a firm foundation for blessings to come. Because how can you ask for more blessings if you cannot be grateful for what you've got already? So, gratitude to me is absolutely everything, even if it's the smallest thing to be grateful for. It just opens your heart so that you can expand. And when we expand our hearts, we are able to give and receive unconditionally,
Right.
because our hearts are the area that takes the hammering. When we go through a disappointment, we tend to say, I'm not trusting a person again. But what do you do through saying that is you're closing up your heart. So I don't want to be in a relationship again because I got hurt. So you're closing your heart. If you close your heart, you close it for everything. And it is like a wall that you build in front of your heart. You cannot connect to God. You cannot connect to other people. If you're a leader, I believe the golden key of leading is the connection that you make with people when you lead them, talk to them, explain the vision, explain why, the what. If you can't make that connection in your heart, then you're disconnected. People can't feel you, they can't trust you, they can feel there's a disconnection. So gratitude allows you to expand your heart. And even if you think that you are not in a fortunate position, maybe you without a job at the moment, and you're a bit concerned about your finances or your future, I've learned now, hand it over. I actually put God in front of me and I say, I'm talking to you. Because as I would talk to another person, I have learned now, speak to him first. Because us humans, we're all in the same space. We all have the same mind battles. We're all going through the same stuff. But when you speak to him, that's when things start to change for you. So when I wake up in the mornings, the first thing I do is I say, Good morning, God.
Mhm.
And then I set my intention for the day and I ask for wisdom and calmness, patience, because I believe when you're in patience, you can do so much more, you see so much more, but you don't react, you act wisely.
Mhm.
And I've found that works for me. And my day's better directed. I feel more like I'm plugging in my matrix and I feel calmer, and the anxiety of, oh my word, how am I going to sort this out? How am I going to do that? How am I going to do that? That subsides because I'm plugged in and I know it's not only up to me. I've got help. So, and since we started this program, I actually start to notice more and more how I am, how I connect. And also the moment when I feel a panic is coming over me, I just bring my focus back to connect. And I find that I'm more in control, I feel calmer, and I have the most aha moments at the moment. Although I'm going through a difficult situation and huge decisions that I need to make, that's changing my life in total. Um, if I allow my fears to step in and my doubts, it's going to throw my balance out, and it's going to create me into a nervous ball. There's no two ways about it because these decisions are huge. So I find that I refocus there and I ask for guidance and I ask for help, and then I look up and boom, I get a message from somebody telling me a story where she didn't know about my situation and I didn't know that she's been through it. Just in one sentence, sharing it with me. And it's like, wowee. And she said, I'm here to support you. And it's just amazing how the answer at that moment just appeared. Another situation that I had this afternoon that was a little bit upsetting because it's an old situation and I used to treat it differently in the past, which made me always, it how can I say, it put me on the stage where everybody, oh, look at her, look what she's saying. But in the meantime, it's like a setup, right? So now with the wisdom and everything that I've gone through, and I look at it today, I just took a step back and I said, whoa, what now? And I got the most amazing answer just before we connected, like I told you. And I know that that is the solution to all of this. It will just kill all fires. Nobody can be upstaged, or tripped up or anything. There's no miscommunication. It's now all open and it's transparent. And I wouldn't think of that myself. I know I was guided peeling potatoes, and the next thing it's, oh, you need to do this. And I've learned now when that happens is you better do it immediately before you forget. But that is, I love this, and I want to say to people, if you feel overwhelmed and anxious, if there's one thing I can really advise you to do is to reconnect. Reconnect with yourself inside of yourself. That is like my I am program, is who are you? Where are you going? What's your vision? And recreate your personality for the future and reconnect to the I am, because that is the most powerful place to be. And then you won't feel overwhelmed because you know that you are plugged in. It's okay, you looked after. And when our attitudes and our minds are positive, doors open for us and opportunities open up for us. But when we're in fear and doubt and we're negative, we do not see those opportunities because they do not play on the same playground. So we're literally putting ourselves immediately. I always say it's a disc. We're on a disc of vibrational energy, and we can choose whether we want a higher vibrational energy or whether we want the worry energy and the negativity and the one that's going to eventually circle out of control. So, but they don't play together. So it's a choice, people. It's like choose on which disc do you want to be, and just keep on reminding yourself when it comes up and the situation comes up, remind yourself you're on this disc. You're okay. You looked after. I also learned to pray for my clients because I work with clients with personal problems, and some of it is huge. So I've learned to bring them in on my disc, and they calm down and their situations calm down. It's just an amazing tool that we've got for free
Mhm.
that we forget to use.
And isn't it amazing? We were talking last week about getting into that place where you can actually listen, and it's intentional. You have to be intentional about those opportunities to get in a place where you can hear, do this, and then
Mm.
you actually recognize it, that hey, hold on, that wasn't me. I wouldn't have said that, but now that I hear it, let me put that into play. And then all of a sudden you see the reason why. And so good on you to, and I applaud that you would be able to listen to that. It's funny because God is always speaking. It's just whether we're listening or not, right? And I shared this kind of it was a surprise, but it wasn't, and I share that with you, right? Because I've always been of the thought, and even in my naval career, you hey, just put in for it. The worst thing that people could say is no, and then you just go to whatever else you're gonna do, right? And so I had applied to be a speaker at VidFest, usually held here in Orlando, a part of the Podfest multimedia type of event, and so I had applied to be a panelist, right? It's just, truth be known, I just want to be part of a group and talk about the things and my journey on LinkedIn and with video, and how things have progressed, and the blessings behind those things. And they ended up asking me to be a breakout session speaker, which is different, right? It was, and I told you about it. I was like, nope, that's not what I wanted. What's going on here? But then you think about the blessings and the opportunities that come with that. Uh, and we're all professionals in our own. area of expertise, right? And so when you have an opportunity to share your expertise, your story, which by the way, folks, your story is unique. No one, even as close as they can come to being similar of a story, it is not, right? So your story has value
Mm,
because only you went through that and only you were able to get through that, or you, it was only you who had to succumb to some situations to get out and become who you are today, right? So those stories are individual, they're unique, and they will speak to millions, right? Because we got what, 7 point something billion people on earth. So it could potentially speak to millions. So I encourage you to tell your story. Tell your story. So and that's my aim. My aim is to tell my story, which is unique. It's just me. Um, and like I said, similar, but it may not be all the same. So, so you know, I was listening to that voice that said, "Hey, go for it, go for it." And sometimes as simple as that, you know, go for it. Um, or how I have heard before, trust me. Simple words. There's It's not a long dissertation. You know, God doesn't present a PhD before you. He's not going for that. Sometimes it's just a couple of words, but they come in a manner that there is no doubt that that's him talking,
mm.
and and you can trust him when he speaks that he has your best interest in mind.
It's guidance, you know. It's that inner guidance that you get. Like when I heard this voice peeling potatoes, I mean, I was in the meal, very involved in the meal that I was making. I love this meal because I cook a curry sauce with onions and tomato and spices. It's a sort of an Ayurvedic dish. And then I peel the potatoes and I cut them in blocks in another dish. And then when the sauce of mine, which is the most beautiful smell, is ready, I pour it over and I put it in the oven and I let it bake. All it just goes so gooey and all into each other. And I was in this dish because I love to make it. And then I use the peels to make potato peel. So I put it in a different bowl with coconut oil and spices, and that gets into the oven as well. So I'm happily going, not so an empty mind. This is actually why I'm telling the story. Is literally have an empty mind at that moment, but I had an issue earlier today that was really, wow, I need to take a step back. I need to make a decision here, you know, because this is affecting the rest of my life. And so it is an issue, but I didn't think of it. So when that voice comes through at that moment is when probably you're the most receptive.
Right.
When you're not thinking of anything and you just I was totally in peace with myself. And I knew that I'm going to come and meet you shortly. So, you know, I was in my mind, sort of start to prepare for that. But my mind was literally nowhere. It was just total empty peace. And boom, then the answer comes. And when that thought came through, it is like I can hear it because I I heard it since I was very young, and it became my survival kit because I grew up with violence and domestic violence, and that was my survival kit. Is I would say I go and sit on God's lap, and I was telling him my whole story, and then I felt so much better, and I just carry on like life's normal, you know. So I had this for years. And when that voice comes and it gives you a message, do it immediately or write it down, because we tend to forget because it's not our own idea. That's what I've learned. And then later, when you get busy in the busyness and you think, oh my word, what was that again? And now you have to scramble in your mind to find that file, that because it's not your file, it's a
Right.
holy file. So that's one thing I've learned is when you get your message, write it down or do it immediately. And I've done it immediately, came to the room and I sat down waiting to connect with you. And I thought, oh, it will only take a minute. Let me do it while I'm waiting. And boom, it just happened. And I have peace now because that challenge is not my challenge anymore. It's been taken care of.
Mhm.
I had another challenge yesterday and I sort of slightly start to panic because I'm making huge changes. And I was wondering, how am I going to do this? There's a list of things I need to do, and there's a lot involved. And maybe I must just mention to the readers that I am moving 18,000 kilometers to be with my mom that is getting frail and that's ill. So I'm giving up my home. My son is staying behind in Cape Town. I don't know where I'm moving. I don't know what's going to happen, but I just took a leap of faith and said, okay. So there's a lot involved. Anyway, and so I asked a couple of people that I saw yesterday. I tested it here and I tested an idea there and I tested there. And when I went to bed, I just went to bed and I said, I surrender because I don't have this one specific answer. I don't know, and it does worry me. And in the middle of the night, I woke up and I had my answer. And the first thing this morning when I woke up is I phoned this person and I told her my story. And she said, why didn't you phone me a long time ago? I would have helped you. Don't worry, let's sort it out. And it just got sorted out right there. And it was just, I sat for a moment this morning with coffee and I thought, oh gosh, if you only know the role that you play in my life. Because yesterday it was overwhelming me. And I was busy and I saw a client and I got too involved in the issue and not take a step back and say, whoa, okay, let me refocus. Let me ask, and then the answers will come. So I really want to say in the difficult times that we are in at the moment, and everybody's in the same boat, and I believe it is to bring us back on our knees and just say, who am I as a person? I posted something today about personal development. In the past, we put personal development last and professional development first. But with that, we lost our
Right.
person, and we became the professional person. So we lost our identity, and that I can test for. It happened to me as well. And then when trauma hit you, you sit there and you say, "Who am I? I don't know who I am because I'm not this person anymore. But who am I?" You lost yourself in the world of work, status, title. Doesn't matter what it is, but in work and how you think other people see you or want to see you. But at the end of the day, who are you? And that's the most important part: is the I am. Who am I? And that needs to be developed because I now know for sure that if you develop your I am, it's a spill over into your professional life and you balance the two. And that is sustainable success, not the other way around.
Yeah, it's amazing that you bring that up because that's one of the first things that I do through my program with Triad Leadership Solutions is I help you identify who you are because so
Yeah.
many people are playing roles that they've been pushed into.
Yes.
And so they've gotten good in taking that script and memorizing it and playing it out. But all along, they've been losing themselves. And that's one of the worst situations to be in because what happens when you no longer have that role? When they say, "Hey, thank you for your service," and not just military, but thank you for your service here to this company. We have no more need of your services. What do you do? And that's where a lot of people are finding challenges that they didn't expect because they go back to an empty place and they don't know what to do. And so, as long as you start to invest, because it's an investment, right? You invest in yourself to get to know yourself again, to get to realize what you love, what's your passions, what are you good at, and what are you great at, what are you exceptional at, right? There's different levels of things that we can do. Then you start to realize that, hey, the work that you're doing to pay the bills might not be your love. And which was my situation.
Mm,
My situation was that I was doing the roles, and while doing the roles, hey, I was doing great, but I was losing myself. And then when I had the opportunity to break away from that system, because it's a system, uh, and I say work for hire type system. But when I was able to break away and take time for myself and be at this
mm.
still, the stillness area, where I can once again figure out who I was, then there was no turning back, because now I live for the what my heart is after. And it's been the best. I mean, since March, there's been no regular steady work. And we both shared some similar stories, right? There's no but I love every day. So, and some people that can't get a job or whatever, they're hating every day. Fine, there's some challenges, right? uh Around the globe. The situation, health wise, has affected a lot of areas, and there's a lot of people out of employment. There's a lot of people out of their homes. There's a lot of people in chaos. There's a lot of people suffering. Um, if there's a has been any time that is best for a person to find themselves, I would say it'd be now. But everybody has to get to a point where they get there. And so, um, I just encourage everyone to, find that place.
It definitely gives you foundation, and it takes that edge of the anxiety edge, it takes that off. So I would highly recommend that you get in contact with your I am and the self-actualization. People, I had it this week where a person said to me, but I don't have a degree. What's going to happen to me? And I said, how old are you? 47. Do you want to tell me there's no wisdom in you? You've got 47 years of wisdom that you can share. You don't need the degree to go anywhere. You need the mindset. You need your self-worth, your self-value. You need to value yourself, and then people will value you. And we can only do that when we are connected to the I am. And like you say, self-actualization, you need to know who you are. So this hope, don't get lost in the fear and the doubt out there that's being created. Don't compare yourself to others. You are unique, a unique person that came into this world with a purpose. We all have our own purpose. I mean, isn't that amazing? We go into a company and we do write-ups about job descriptions, but we do not honor our own job description that we're born with. So part of your purpose is your job description. If your, pardon me, your job description says that you should be in a certain industry or serve certain people, do it. But your parents said you must become this, or you think you should have studied that. I meet a lot of people in coaching who studied a certain topic or into a certain direction, and they're so unhappy with themselves. They're so unhappy about the study. Just do what's your purpose, and we will be able to collectively change this world. If we all start to step into our I am, we honor our purpose, And then whenever you go out there, put your purpose first. My purpose is always to help people to see their potential. And I've realized that whether I've been a director of a company or whether I've just done corporate or wherever I was, but somehow that was my job. So my purpose is letting people see their beauty and really unleash their potential for them. Whether they're a leader doesn't matter at which level, but serve your purpose because your heart will sing while you do that. And when your heart sings, so much easier to connect and to stay in that higher connection and to live a life on purpose.
Yeah, I love that. Folks, if you have anything to share, please share it in the comments. We would love to hear your stories, but we encourage you to listen when God speaks. That way, your situations can be become better. We will see you all next week. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Madelaine, for sharing your stories and your insights. I really appreciate your company. Folks, be blessed, and we'll see you next week at When God Speaks.
Thank you, Enrique. See you